Alright then, that should be more than enough. Okay, we're talking functions today, based on the tasks we've been given so far. We're discussing functions. I'm just gonna load up my Vagrant so I can SSH into my sandbox. Okay. Vagrant. Oh shush. Mm. Alright, sorry guys, just give me a few minutes. I just wanna SSH into my sandbox. Okay. Cool stuff. Alright, let's talk functions. But before we go into functions, right, I'm gonna talk about why we need it, and I'll give you like real life scenario of stuff. So from there, I hope it makes sense moving forward. So I'm just gonna go to the directory root, actually change the root ls. I'm gonna change into the practice directory, and then I'm going to um, remove everything here and touch new files. So let's ls restaurant. Let's call this file restaurant.c, right? Restaurant.c, not ls, sorry, vi restaurant.c, right? Like we discussed yesterday, the normal structure of a file must be u including the stdio.h, stdio.h, and we have what we need, which is the main, the entry point of everything. I want to deliberately have errors because some people were still texting me about Betty errors, so we'll treat that again today, right? And by default we return a value because, well, was error, anyone is fine, right? um I'm gonna write a bunch of things here, right? um for I'm gonna make a comment here first saying that this is a file for a restaurant business. Okay, right. um for a restaurant, right, when you go to, let's say, for instance, I'm taking this away from code now. I'm talking about real life scenario where you have a restaurant. Let's assume that this restaurant doesn't have a waiter, doesn't have anything. All it has is the business owner, and the business owner only knows what how to cook, right? So let's assume that we're not talking code now. We're talking real life scenario, right? We're talking about the fact that this restaurant owner, this person that knows how to cook, will just cook, right? And based on the number of people that comes into the restaurant, the the restaurant owner, who is the cook, will respond to everyone simultaneously or sequentially, regardless of how many of them that comes. So let's assume we don't have any other person apart from just the restaurant owner. So assume that the restaurant owner is responsible for cooking. If somebody comes into the restaurant and orders a food, she's gonna leave, or he's gonna leave whatever it is he or she is doing and go respond to the person that, let's say, the client that wants food or stuff like that, right? and let's say that he or she is flexible and can multitask that way, having to juggle the whole cooking situation and responding to people and stuff. Let's say that she can do that or he can do that. So what happens when we have 50 people in the restaurant? She was able to juggle the whole multitasking situation where she can respond to people simultaneously. So yes, she has done that, but what happens when there are other issues, like maybe there's a theft in the restaurant? She can't go around looking for who stole something, right? That would be a lot of work for her. Or let's say that somebody's ready to pay for food. She can't be a waiter all of a sudden and still try juggling the food and ordering and responding to people's order. That would be a lot of work as well. What else? Let's say the person also, let's say someone else, somebody is complaining about the food, for instance. She can't also be the waiter. Let's say somebody is ready to pay for the food. She can't be a cashier. All of those things are too much. So that's why we have positions in a restaurant like a waiter, a security, a cleaner, a cashier. Those people are there to make life easy for the entire restaurant business, you know. That's kind of the same thing a code is trying to accomplish. When you write a code and you have a function, the function is to reduce the line of codes in that entire code. The function is for you to be able to do things over and over and over and over again without having to write that line of code over and over and over again. I'm going to illustrate that using this code, for instance. Um, let's say that the first thing you do when you enter a restaurant is to greet somebody. So let's quickly write that code and say print print f welcome to the restaurant. I don't know. That's fine. That's fine. Welcome to the restaurant. Let's say someone is paid to do this, right? That person says welcome to the restaurant, and print f. Let's say here, what you want to ask is what, maybe as a waiter. Let's say what a waiter is meant to do here is to say what would you love to eat? Okay, that's one thing. And what else? Um, you've already specified what you want to eat and stuff. You enjoy the food. So let's say that you want to have let's say you want to complain about something to a security or something like that. So let me just have another thing that says I need to see the manager or something like that. Someone stole my, I don't know. Or I'm ready to pay. Let me say you want to pay. So let's say I'm ready to pay to the cashier or something, right? I'm ready to pay, stuff like that. Let's say something else like what else? I want to complain. I want to complain about a missing item or something like that. We know for a fact that this is a security issue and somebody there needs to, the security needs to attend to this. Let's say something else like there's somebody giving a welcome tone. There's somebody else um, responsible for collecting payment. There's somebody else. Okay, let's complain about the dirty table. So I want my table cleaned or something like that. All right. And mind you, we have 50 people in the restaurant. We don't want a situation whereby we will keep on writing this 50 times or over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? That is where the concept of functions comes in, right? So let's assume that I want to copy this entire thing and paste it 50 times, right? So I'm gonna paste that 50 times, or I don't know, however number of times you want to do that. And imagine doing this for 50 people over and over and over again. This is where the concept of functions comes in, where you don't have to repeat yourself over and over and over and over again. All you have to do is just create a function and call that function however number of times you want to call that function. So we're going to practicalize that, but first of all, let's run this code to see if we have any issues. in terms of syntax. So we're going to say gcc restaurant dot c dash o, we want it to be called restaurant, right? Okay, now if you should run restaurant, everything is fine, right? But remember, we only posted this 3 times. It means that we only have 3 customers. Yeah, if there's just one person attending to everyone here in the restaurant, right? Um, it's still okay. It's just 3 people. But let's say there are 50 people. Are you gonna keep on writing this over and over and over and over again, or you're gonna juggle things? It's just gonna be a lot of work. That's what I'm trying to say here. So now let's try working with functions, right? So how do you go about writing a function? Well, in a function, you have to. I'm just gonna comment here. Sorry. Syntax of a function. Syntax of a function. A function should have a data type. No, not a data type. A return type. A return type. Function name. Function name and parameters. Okay. This is, and whatever it is you want that function to accomplish is going to come into the braces. So that is the syntax of a function. So right now, let's say that this welcome to restaurant is a job of a marketer, right? So I'm just gonna have a function called marketing, right? The return type here is gonna be void because we're not returning anything, and let's call this marketer, okay? And we don't want anything in the function, so it's gonna be void as well. But we want to deliberately have errors here so that we can run the Betty old things again and fix it together like yesterday. So what do you want the marketer to do? We want the marketer to tell everyone welcome every time they come to the restaurant. So I'm just gonna copy here and paste here. So I'm gonna tell you how to use it. Right now I'm teaching you how to create it, right? We're returning let's say we're returning 0 here. I'm deliberately having errors here. We'll betty everything and fix it accordingly. Um, we've created um, we've created um, we've created a function for a marketer. Now let's create a function for, this is the client, right? Okay, let me say client. Right, let me say client here. So I'm gonna create a function for a client and call it client, right? So void client, for instance, and then what we want to do is copy that entire thing there and paste it here, and then return 0. Remember, we're gonna fix this. This is a deliberate error. Okay, and I hope this is gonna make sense as time goes on. But this is gonna cover all the tasks that you meant to treat in terms of functions. So, and loops as well. We'll treat loops here even in this file. So let's pay attention. That's marketer client. The next person is cashier. So let's just create cashier once and for all. Cashier collects cash. Copy, paste, return 0. Right. I'm trying to have a little bit of fun here, so bear with me. So that's void cashier, void cleaner. We have a cleaner. Yes, I'm recording the session. Yes, I'm recording it. Somebody asked, so I had to record it. Alright, so next thing is a cleaner. I want my table cleaned. That's the we're gonna fix this as time goes on. Like, we'll make it look more elegant and make it make sense. A cleaner can't be saying I want to clean the table. It has to be a request from a client, right? So, um, what would you love to eat? That's a waiter. That's a job of a waiter. All right. What would you love to eat? That would be a job of a waiter, right? So we're gonna come here and create something like that for a waiter, a function for a waiter. So void waiter asking the question of what would you love to eat. So I'm gonna put that there and that. Actually, we need to return. Okay, returns out. Okay, that's fine. All right. Security issues. So we need a security function. So I have security. Right. For security issues, you have to complain about a missing item. I think that's all about it. I think that's all about it. Alright. Oh, shish. Not there. Alright, good. I always forget that this is not an actual notepad, so I must always move the cursor every time. Okay. Now, this is how you create a function. I already showed you the syntax of how you create a function and all the things that whatever it is you want to have within the braces, you must have it there. For a void function, however, a void function does not really need a return. It doesn't need a return statement because it's a void. If I run this code, we should have an error with regards to this. You only have a return value for things like int, double, based on the data type that you want to try to return. That's the only time you have to make use of return things. I intentionally did this here because I need to run this code for you to see what errors you might get and how to go around fixing that error. Okay, so if I should try compiling this right now, I should have errors with regards to the fact that it's a void function but we're trying to return something. So we have to go back into the file and get rid of those return things, the return values. That wasn't actually smart of me because that's a lot of return. So I'm just gonna, but we will tweak this to make sense more, like to make this file more useful and appreciated. I'm gonna to make these functions more useful and appreciated. We're gonna tweak it as many times as possible. But just for now, we're creating the functions and we're gonna make use of them in the file as time goes on. But right now, I'm just gonna get rid of all of these issues. So now you know that you don't use return statements in a void function that you create. You only use return statements with functions that return data types, not void. Okay. Um, but I'm just gonna escape that, save it again, and run and execute the code. Right. Right now, you only created those functions. We have not started using them. Okay. We're gonna use them. Because if I should run this, we're still gonna get the normal thing we have, right? So now let's go tweak this, the main function. The main function is the one that's going to make use of. Remember that the main function is the entry level of every C program that you write. So now it's the main function that makes use of the functions, the additional functions that you create, right? So now that we have the functions that can do all of the numerous number of things that we listed here, we have the marketer, we have the client that says all of these things, we have the cashier and stuff. We can just get rid of all of these things because now we have things that can do them, right? So I'm gonna get rid of this entire thing so that we can start making use of the function. I'm gonna drop the syntax for that as well, and show you how to call a function after creating it. I don't want to get rid of the comments. We're going to need them as time goes on. So for a marketer, for instance, I'm going to first create a comment showing the syntax of how to call a function. Syntax of how to call a function. Right. All you have to do is the name of the function, name of function, and parameter. Okay, parameter that is being passed into it. Now, for a marketer, all we have to do is just go and look for the name of the function. You just have to, I didn't spell it properly, that's why I'm trying to copy it. So all you have to do is go all the way there and get the right name for your function and just call it like that. That is how you call a function. Because we don't have parameters, you don't have to pass in anything to the parameter. So now if I run this code and execute it, I should have a response saying welcome to the restaurant. So now if I should save this and try running it, compiling and running it rather, I should have that welcome to the restaurant, right? And regardless of how many times um, regardless of how many times I make use of regardless of how many times I call this function, every flipping thing that is inside that function is going to be um, executed over and over and over and over again. So now, for instance, let's say within that function I say, welcome to the restaurant, we're happy to have you, for instance. Let's say I want to add more statements here saying, we are happy to have you here, right? It's just gonna keep on doing the exact thing that you told it to do, right? So now if I should run this code and if I compile it and run it, you should have welcome to the restaurant, we're happy to have you here, right? So a function is something, is literally you designating a particular job to something. You see how we have um you see how we have a waiter, right? A waiter can do a numerous a number of things, right? Aside from collecting orders and serving those orders to people that ask for the orders. That's the same thing you do with functions. You create it and tell it what to do, right? So you see that I could have a bunch of things. I could have anything inside the function, right? I could have anything inside the function. It doesn't matter what as long as you're following the rules and the syntax and everything that has to do with C, the rules that comes with functions, everything should go well. Like I said, a function is something you create to do to get a certain amount of certain jobs done, right? So let's say I want to um let's say for instance I want to create a function that collects a parameter, for instance, right? So you remember what I said about parameters and stuff. Um, okay, let's say the parameter that is being passed here is a character parameter, and it takes the first and it takes the first letter of your name. So remember what you said yesterday, that if we want to output certain types of data, we have to represent it with an identifier. So if I'm outputting a character, for instance, I can just be like that, right? According to the resources that was given to us. So I want to output that, right? So now what I want to do now here is to pass in a letter. So let's say the first letter of my name is G, for instance. I can just pass in letter G here. And if I should run this code, it should say, welcome to the restaurant G, we're happy to have you here. So if I should run this and execute it, it should say that, right? This, as time goes on, it should make sense to you, right? Just you stick to the resources and try understanding it. We should know by now that functions should have, some functions have return types, some don't. They have void. Some have data types, some don't. Some have parameters rather, and some don't. It doesn't matter how you do it. It doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you know what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. So we have a marketer. We've told the marketer what to do. The marketer is just to what the marketer is meant to do is to get a user's name and say welcome to that user. That's what the marketer should do, right? Now, the next thing we want to do is um have a cashier that receives certain amount of money and um does the calculation, right? So let's say the cashier tells you, or let's say that the cashier receive, so you tell the cashier that, hey, I want to buy this food, and each food costs certain amount of money, right? So now let's create a function. Let's have the cashier collect an item letter that somebody wants to, an item that somebody wants to order, as well as the amount of money that the cashier is receiving from the user. So now, for instance, right, in this cashier function, right, let's say that a user is passing a value into the cashier function. The cashier is receiving a character for options of what they want to buy, and they are going to also receive an amount of money, amount of money, right? So um, this cashier is going to check your options against certain things. So let's say the option, let's say if the option is A, for instance. So if options is equal to A, right, it means that the user wants to purchase an avocado, right? So let's f print f you want to purchase an avocado, right? You want to purchase an avocado and it costs, okay, print f again, it costs 20 rands, for instance, and we're going to do the calculation accordingly. So you gave me it's a float, right, or a double. Let's say it's a float. I'm going to change that to a float. It's a float. You gave me a certain amount of money, right? I'm going to have a nested if statement. Okay. So in this if statement, I'm going to say if amount is less than, if amount is less than 20, you should output you cannot afford this money. You cannot afford this item. You cannot afford this item. Right, that's that. Else, you just print out and say the item is yours. Okay. Okay. That is that for that. We can have an else if statement that check if the option is equal to, if the option is equal to B, right? We can do something else, but for now let's address the initial option that we have. Let the user pass in a value that is less than, alright. So now let's come here and have I am your cashier for today. Let me say I am your cashier for today. I am your cashier. Let's do that. So now let's call this function that we just created, this function called the cashier. We've met the marketer, right? Now let's talk to the cashier now. Actually, in actual fact, we're meant to be talking to the waiter, not the cashier, but just to make, let's just work with what we have. So the option here that we want to pass in here, we want to pass in an option of A, and we want to pass a value. Let's first pass in a value that is less than 20. So let's pass in a value of 5. All right, and then try running this code. Okay, everything is right, and the next thing I want to do is save this and try executing that. We passed in 5, so we should have welcome to the restaurant G. We're happy to have you here. I am a cashier. You want to purchase an avocado. It costs 20 rand. You gave me 5 rand. You cannot afford this item, right? See, that's we gave the job. We gave this job to the cashier to check the amount of money somebody sends to them, and they should address them according to how much they have basically. So we passed them 5 rand. I want to try passing in I want to try making sure that this is clean so you can know who is talking and stuff. So I'm just going to have an extra line of code here, not an extra line but a new line of I want to have a new line. So I hope you're seeing the idea that I'm trying to give here, like what exactly this thing is trying to accomplish and stuff like that. um I'm going to try passing in a different value now. Instead of 5, let's pass in 25 and let the cashier actually calculate the amount of money that should be left. Okay, I'm gonna pass in 25 here, and over here, after knowing the item, after knowing for sure that this person can afford this amount of money, this item, we should calculate the amount left after deduction. We know that an avocado costs 20 rands, right? Whichever value that is being passed, as long as we're here, it means that that value is greater than 20, right? So we're going to tell them that this item is yours and your change is so amount of money, right? So we're going to be like print F, because that's the job of a cashier. It collects money, does all of the calculation it needs to do, gives you the item if you can afford it, and tell you how much change, or give you the amount of change left, right? So here let's practically illustrate that, saying that hey, yo, the item is just yes, and your change is it's gonna be a float also, so we have to represent it with a float. Your change is so amount of um your change is that you give me that. Okay, all right, your change is that amount of money, and then after doing that you tell them to enjoy their food or whatever item it is that they purchased. Over here what we want to do is say amount minus 20, right? Amount minus 20. I think it's better to put them in parentheses just for the sake of that. And then here let's be nice to them so that they can come back. So we tell them I hope you enjoy this item, right? This is me just trying to make it look fancy and all, but I hope you guys are getting the idea of what a function does, right? I think it will make more sense as time goes on. So here we passed in 25, right? If we save this and try, you know what, my screen is too busy, let's clear the screen. Okay, if we run this now, it should tell us, "Welcome to the restaurant G. We're happy to have you here." That is what the marketer said, right? Now it went to the cashier. The cashier was like, "Oh, I am your cashier. What are you trying to purchase? You want to purchase an avocado? Oh, sweet." Because you passed in the option of A, right? You want to purchase an avocado. It cost 20 rand. You gave me 25 rand. Because the money you gave me is greater than the item that you purchased. I'm just gonna cut the file that we're writing just now. Oh shush, sorry. That's a mistake. That's a mistake. That is a mistake. I'm trying to. That's the object file that's being displayed. Okay, well, alright, cool. Alright, cool. Okay, it's fine. Alright, so, um, the item is yours. Your change is 5 rand. I hope you enjoy this item. Because we passed in G there, that's to represent your name. Cashier, you pass in the option of A and you give in the amount of money, 25 rand. I hope that makes sense. If you have a question so far, please ask before I move on, because we're going to finish the entire restaurant business here, right now. And from there, we're going to talk about the header files and all of those things. If you have a question, please ask with regards to functions, things that you think com- I'm making complex for you, you can ask now. Otherwise, we can move on. If you have a question, raise your hand. I can address it before we move forward. Okay, no one have a question. Can you guys hear me? Oh, okay, you can. Let's
Yes,
Christopher.
yes, we can.
Sweet. Christopher, you can ask a question.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, my first question is I noticed in some places you are using two new line commands.
Yeah.
So why not one? Like, I don't know.
Oh, I needed it to look more visible. It was all squashed up. The output was squashed in one place. That's
Oh,
why.
okay, so it made those space like a paragraph on the outpost.
Yes. That's what I was trying to accomplish with that. Yes.
Okay, then secondly, the percent C and the um yeah
Yes.
ampersand F and the ampersand C, are do they function like with the same, like do they do the same function, or is it just difference in
No,
letters, like
they are
what they
different.
do?
So for percentage C, you're telling the program that you want to output a character variable. For percentage F, you're telling the program that you want to output a floating point variable.
Okay, but there's a D makes it numbers or something,
D is an integer variable,
which is numbers.
which is numbers. Yes, whole numbers, numbers without decimal values.
Oh, okay. Then thirdly, I notice your open curly bracket start at the end of the line. While I don't know, most of the codes that I do or I will see, the the curly bracket opens at the beginning with some space at the line. I notice yours open after the brackets. You open the curly bracket, then close at the beginning
Yes,
of the line.
all of those
So
things are
if I do that at the
some of these things are wrong. I'm doing this intentionally because at the end of this, we're gonna do Betty. We're gonna Betty this file and address the issues for those that were not here
oh
yesterday.
okay,
Yes,
but
yes.
it compiled. Funny enough, but it's compiling.
Yeah, it will
So
compile.
it
That's it will compile, and I'll explain the reason why. So when you get to the as a
o-
software engineer, when you get to the industry, you have to follow some coding standards, right? Some companies will be like,
yes.
your braces must start immediately after a parenthesis. Some companies will be like, no, we don't want that. We want it in the next line. Now, Betty has a type of coding standard that you need to follow. According to Betty, this code will run perfectly, yes. But for us to speak in a common language and use a common style within an organization, we have to set some rules. And ALX is trying to accomplish that using Betty. Betty comes with some rules that you must follow. Your code will run perfectly, yes. but are the rules that you are meant to follow, are they being followed? You know, this code will run properly. If I put in Betty right now, everything in this screen is gonna be red about the errors and warnings that we're gonna have. I'll do it now, but we're not gonna address it now. We're gonna address it at the end of the session for you to
Yeah.
understand the Betty issues. Um, I'm gonna
Okay.
do that now. Actually, let me just quickly save
Okay.
this and Betty the file. You should have a bunch of errors because can you see that? All of these we're going to address one after the other so that everyone, in fact, I'll probably do the first 20 errors and then point on each and every one of you to tell me what the issue is for the next couple of errors so that we can fix it together, so it doesn't look like it's just me talking, for me to get that you understand certain things, if that makes sense.
All right.
Sweet. All right, so let's continue now, right? So far so good. Does anyone have any other question that needs to be asked? All right, so we can continue. So for beans, let's say the option B is for beans, right? I just copied this entire thing. I'm gonna paste it here. Okay. Yeah, it's gonna complain about the indenting. It's fine. Leave it like that. That's not a problem. Is it a problem? Hmm. Let's see. Oh, hold up a minute. Oh, it's not good. Okay, good. Nice. Alright, good stuff. Oh, I see what it did. Okay. Um, that sucks. Alright, this thing wants us to write this manually. Okay, it's fine. So the option for B, let's say the option B is for you purchasing beans, for instance. So we're just gonna print F beans. Okay, I'm gonna try copying this again and see if it's gonna wow. Okay, right. Okay, um, okay. It costs. Let's say the amount for beans. Let's say that it costs let's say beans is less expensive than avocado. So let's say it's 12. Oh, let's say it's 12 point. Let's say it's 12.3 for instance, and you gave me so amount of money, and you're purchasing a bean. You want to purchase a bean, right? Okay. And the next thing I want to do is to check if this person can actually afford what they want to purchase, right? So I'll have an if statement and an else if statement. I'm gonna copy that and paste it here. Okay. Now we have to check is if the amount is less than if the amount given to the user to the cashier is less than 12.3, then this person cannot afford that item. Otherwise, the item is theirs. Your change is amount minus 12.3, and you tell them, "I hope you enjoyed this item," right? And let's say else we don't have that option, because if you don't put A or you didn't put B, it means that we don't have the item you're looking for. So we're gonna print out here saying that we don't have the item option you imputed. Okay, and we're gonna have a new line and a new line, and that should that should be fine in terms of if statements and nested if statements. I hope that is more than enough to help you out with if statements. You get the idea? You have a a marketer, you have a cashier, you have a cleaner. Okay, you know what? Let me just get rid of these other ones. We don't need a client. We don't need a client. We don't need a marketer. I think these two functions is more than enough for you to understand the idea of functions. I think it's just more than enough. I'm gonna get rid of all of this options and test the function that we have, and from there we're gonna talk. I'm gonna try creating a loop, okay, of stuff. So over here we have a cashier of we have a cashier and we want the option of B, okay, when we have 25 rand. Remember, you can call a function as many times as possible, and this will help you appreciate why we have a function. You don't want to keep on writing certain lines of code over and over and over and over and over and over again. We already have what we need within a function over here. So you can just call cashier as many times as you want. You can call it with option A, you can call it with option B, you can call it with less amount of money. So we know that an avocado costs 20. Let's pass in 12.3 here for instance. You should complain about the fact that I cannot afford that thing. I'll call the cashier again. Now look, compared to what we had in the beginning, if we had all of these things jungled up based on the amount of times we want to talk to a cashier, it's gonna make the main look very ugly. It's gonna make the main look jungled up. If you have an error, it's very gonna be very difficult for you to locate that error. But with the use of functions, if you have an error when you call a function, you know for a fact where the function is and how to address the issue you have. So these are the advantages we have with regards to functions. And yeah, I'm gonna pass in 28 here, knowing fully well that the option C doesn't exist. I'm just gonna pass 20 or 28. Let me pass 28. 28. Okay. Alright, let me save this and then try running it. Um, Betty, no, not Betty. There, this one. So if we run this, it's gonna tell you, "Welcome, G. We're happy to have you here. I am a cashier. You want to purchase a bean. It costs 12.3. You gave me 25. The item is yours, and this is the amount of money you have left. Right? Remember, the bean cost 12.3. I think was it? Yeah, something like that. I think 12.3, right? Yeah, 12.3. And I hope you enjoyed this item. The second time we called something. I think we called it with B, but less amount of money. Yeah, it's actually there. I am a cashier. You want to purchase an avocado? It costs 20. You gave me 12.3. You cannot afford this item. I am a cashier. Remember, we called cashier the third time with an option that doesn't exist. So it's gonna tell you we don't have the item option you imputed. I hope this helps you understand, like, appreciate the idea of functions and how we make use of them and stuff like that. Now, moving forward, moving forward. Um, Instead of, yes, we have this number of um, we have this number of functions that we declared here, and everything looks nice and stuff like that. But what if we have 50 functions that are being created here? Remember that, I don't know if, for those that were here yesterday, I told them that if you have a blank file, in fact, let me just practicalize it right here, right now. If you have a blank file called something .c, and you just had int name void, right, and return, let's say 0 for instance, right, this code should not complain because it's just a code, like it's a starting point, everything is fine, right? I'm gonna test this out so I prove a point to you guys, right? So I'm gonna be like gcc something.c, it's just gonna give me a dot out. There's no error whatsoever, everything is fine. If I execute something, oh no, no, it can't be something, If I execute a dot out, nothing is wrong, everything is fine. And I'm going to go back to that file and try running. I'm going to try calling a function, right, called printf. Printf, I'm going to output my name is Gabriel, right, and create a new line here and try like escaping this entire thing. If I try running this, if I try running this code, it's going to complain about the fact that I tried calling a function that doesn't exist. This is where the include statement comes in. What are we trying to include? What are we trying to accomplish using the include statement? Well, we're trying to include um, header files, basically. And what are header files? Well, header files are files that contains functions or structures or variables that we created that could be of use to other people. In our case, we called a function called printf. But the issue here is that yes, printf does exist somewhere, but where should this program look for it? That is where the thing called include statement comes in. And what are we including? We're including the standard library created by the probably the C organization, the guys that created the programming language C. They have a standard library where you can have access to a bunch of functions, right? I'm sure that those resources were given to us in ALX. If you go through them, you understand what I'm saying. So because I included stdio, I can make use of these printf functions now. I cannot have any issue, right? And it's not just printf functions. There are other functions like put, write, put char. Or like as time goes on, you be exposed to all of those functions as time goes on. So if I try running this code right now, I shouldn't have an issue because now I included the header file, the library where this printf function exists, where it exists. So if I try compiling this thing now and executing it, a dot out because I didn't specify the name of the object file, it should tell you my name is Gabriel. Now, yes, this thing exists, but we also have functions now. In our case, we created the waiter function, no, cashier function and the marketer function. But what if we have more functions we have to write? Why don't we create a header file of our own and put it where people can have access to it? They can just download it from somewhere and just make use of it. I'm going to create a new link now, and from there, we're going to start discussing things that have to do with header files. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to create a new link now because we're running out of time with this current link that we have. I'm going to Google Meet over here and new meeting. I'm going to drop the link in the message box as well as the WhatsApp group. Okay. Ta-da. All right, I'm pasting the link right here right now. This meeting is gonna go off in a few minutes, in like 2 minutes. Okay, you guys can join the thing. I'm also gonna drop it on the WhatsApp group. Okay. Oh, new meeting link. That's weird. Why does that? Okay, there you go. All right. I just dropped the new link, guys. Please join. Wysing, Charles, and Tabiseng. Please join the. Oh, Charles is here already. I'm just gonna exit that one. All right. So we did what we did over there. Just gonna admit, sorry. I'm just gonna write something. We already understand why we need to have include statements and stuff like that. So I'm gonna write into restaurant dot c. Okay, these are the functions we created, and we want a situation whereby we could have bunch of other functions. You see the functions that we erased, like the waiter function, the security function, the cleaner function that we erased. We could like have we could have like we could have a bunch of these things, which will make this entire file completely unreadable because it's gonna be a very long file for us to read. So with the help of header files, we can have the forward declaration of certain functions that we need in a particular file for them to know the number of functions that does exist, and then in the actual files that these functions are going to contain, because each of these functions will have their own files. And I think that could be a disadvantage because of the fact that we have a lot of files in different places, but it still helps us know where things are and makes our code readable, if that makes sense. So with the help of a reader file, of a header file, right, we can have a bunch of codes in different places, right? How do we go about creating header files? Well, that is what we're going to do right here, right now, right? So I'm going to escape this thing and create a header file, right? First of all, let me just, okay, let me not cut it. Let me vi into main.h. According to the resources that is given to us, in order for you to have a header file, you must have um, the basic structure of a header file must have um, two starting line that is compulsory and one ending line. The starting line is the starting lines are if not defined, name of the file in capital letter underscore h. If it's not defined, I need you to define it for me. So define main underscore h. Okay, all of this in capital letter, and end the if. It's like an if statement saying that if these files do not exist, please create them. And after you're done creating that file, exit or end the if statement. And what do we want to have here? Well, um, we want to have the forward declaration of the functions that we initially created. The functions we tried creating were marketer and what is the other one? And cashier, right? I'm gonna save this right here so that I can see. Oh. I wanna save this so I can see the forward declaration of files that I wanna create. I'm gonna not cut actually. I'm gonna vi into restaurant.c so that I can have the beginning statement of all of these things that we created. So I'm just gonna run all the way to the top and copy this, just the starting point of these files. This is what I need. Forward declaration. So what does yeah. So I'm just gonna quit this and go into the main.h. According to these resources that we were given, you should, yeah, it's that one. Header files must start, they have their syntax rather. I don't know if it's this one. Oh yeah, there it is, this one. So the entire header file, so here is going to contain the forward declaration of the functions that you want to create. Okay, so I'm going to have the forward declaration here. Okay, all it needs is that the return type, the name of the function, as well as the parameters if it has one. So I'm just going to end this with a semicolon, We don't need to declare or state the body of the function. We don't need that. All we need is a for declaration. Okay. All right. These are the two files. These are the two functions that we created, right? So now what we have to do is now create the files for each of these functions that we created. So we're going to call one the cashier and the other one the marketer. So I'm going to come here and create the, let's start with the marketer for instance. Let's start with the marketer. So I'm going to actually vie into the restaurant to collect the file, that the function that we created. So what I want to do is copy this entire function, Control Shift C, and we want to quit it and vie into a function, a file called marketer.c. And then what we want to do next is, hold on, I actually took a screenshot of this so I don't forget. Okay, so what we want to do next is, because we are printing inside that file, we have to include the library. We are using printf function, so we have to include include the library, include stdio.h. Now we can go ahead to paste the function that we initially created, and that should be the end of this file. Okay, the next one we want to create is, we can now go ahead to get rid of the marketer here. We will obviously not have access to it yet. We have to follow certain steps before we can get that to happen. So I'm just gonna get rid of this entire thing. Okay, now the next one we want to have is this entire thing here. Copy. And we want to vie into cashier.c. Vi cashier.c. Yeah, cashier.c. Because we're also printing here, we have to okay, we have to include stdio.h and go ahead to paste this there. Okay, that is that. WQ. Now I'm gonna go into the restaurant and erase it because now we already have it existing somewhere. Okay, so I'm gonna erase this entire function. Alright, okay. Now I'm gonna intentionally run this code to see if it's even gonna run. So I'm gonna um, run that long cast command. This one. It should complain about the fact that marketer does not exist, cashier does not exist. Yes, they exist, but we're not making it visible to it. And the only way it can see it is if we include it in the main. Like we include the file, the header file that contains the list of functions that we created. And there are other steps we still need to follow though. So over here, I'm gonna include include because of the fact that this is not a standard library, we have to have this include the main that we want to include. We have to have it in quotations because it's not a standard library. It's a library created by somebody else. All right, it's a header file created by somebody else. It's not created by the C programming organization or stuff like that. This main file, main.h, is a file that I created, a file that we created ourselves. Now that we have it created and stuff, we can now make use of it. But there's still some steps that we still need to follow. Right, there are some commands that we need to execute in order to have all of these things running perfectly. But I'm still gonna try. I'm gonna try running this code to show you that it's probably not gonna work properly. Just a second, because I need to include a list of what I should work. What's wrong? There. All right, right. So it says undefined reference, undefined reference, undefined reference. That's because while compiling, we need to list out the files that needs to be compiled in order for us to get a certain response. So we have to follow something like this. So we have to list out all of the files that are needed in order to compile. Like for instance, in this file, we needed a putchar file for this thing to the putchar function in this putchar file for this thing to be able to run properly. Same goes to every other file that are listed here. We needed certain things, right? So in our case, we need main.h, we need marketer.c, we needed cashier.c. So all I have to do is copy this entire thing over here and list out the files that we need manually. So I'm gonna do the same thing here and list out cashier.c. We're gonna list out marketer. Was it not marketer? Marketer.c, yes. We're also gonna list out mm, main main.h. We also want to list out the actual file that is making use of all of these functions and files that we're listing out here, which is restaurant.c, right? And we need a certain object file called restaurant. And after all of this is done, we need it to execute restaurant when it's done. Or let's call it rest. No, restaurant actually, that's what we call it. Alright. Fingers crossed. Okay, it's complaining about that, so let's go fix that. It's in restaurant.c in line 15. So vi restaurant.c. This is a file for restaurant business. You know what the funny thing is? It didn't complain about this when we were compiling the very start, at the very beginning of this entire thing. But it's fine. I'm gonna get rid of everything. Okay, so I'm gonna excuse that and try running this again. You can't be serious. Same thing. We have comment for client down there. Just gonna get rid of that. Well, okay. Let's try again. Perfecto. So now all the functions that we had, all the functions that we had created, all the files that we've created, we just needed to add them while compiling in order for everything to work together as a whole, right? Instead of us having a jumbled up file containing a multiple number of functions declared in that file, we splitted them into places. So in the marketer, we have all the things a marketer must do. In the cashier part, we have all the things the cashier must do. We can have as much files as possible. We can even go as far as creating a security file, right? and saying you're not allowed to be here or stuff like that. Just it's just this is literally all that goes on in real life. It's just taking the place of an actual human being. And this you see all of these things we're having here. This is what robots do. They're actual files. These files that you give them are the commands you actually give to them that they must obey. You know. So if you're going out and you're thinking about how an actual robot works, like even the the robots at the road, right? The one that's the green, red, and orange thing. You should think about um how does this actually work, right? You check, or you okay, after 15 seconds you must move from green to red, or from green to orange, and from orange to red, things like that. And things they need to cater for when the entire system is down. Does it say green for everyone to go, or does it say red for everyone to stop? Things like that. You must think like a programmer when you come across certain things that miss the eye, like stuff like that, like the robot. Imagine if all the robots in this world turn green. You should realize the amount of accidents that are going to happen. Things like that. um I think it was in a movie called Die Hard. I'm not sure. I'll probably check that movie out and send it to you guys. It also had something to do with programming as well, like an hacker. And they what they did is they hacked the entire robot system, and all of the traffic lights turned green, and it led to an accident, and a bunch of other things happened. It's what the programmer does. So you as a programmer, or in the journey of being a software engineer, or a programmer, you should look at things and think about how they actually work. Like you're learning it now. It's gonna be a practical illustration of what actually goes on in the real world when you go move forward now. So if you see a function, or you see an if statement, you look at the real world and see how a gate is actually opening. Why does it not open for your card, and why does it open for a certain card? What if statements are they making, and stuff like that, right? So I hope what we've done so far makes sense. If you have any questions with regards to what we have done so far, you can ask, and I can quickly touch on that. And yeah, the next thing we want to do now is Betty. We're gonna Betty the file and try fixing the bunch of errors that we have in it. So if you have any question, now is the time to ask. Does anyone have any question? Okay, so I'm guessing no one have a question. So I'm gonna Betsy. Let's start betting. Let's start with betting. Restaurant. Dot C. Right. Okay. So I'm gonna take a screenshot of. I'm gonna take a screenshot of these errors so that we can address them line by line in the restaurant file. And from there, we're gonna go to the next file and then treat the issue there. So we're gonna vie into restaurant.c. Now it's said in line 5 there's a trailing space, right? So I'm gonna go into insert mode, go all the way home, and count 5 lines. Right? This is what it said. Line 5. That's You really cannot change this, can you? Okay, that's better. So the name of the file, the line where the issue is, and what the actual error is. So the name of the file restaurant.c, we opened it. The line the error is on line 5. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's complaining about the fact that there's a white trading space. Trading space meaning that at the end of the line, there at the end of this line there are white spaces that we don't need. We need to get rid of it. So I'm gonna go to the end of this line and get rid of that trading space. It's because of this line. That's why it's complaining. Because of this little space here, that's why it's complaining. So I'm gonna erase it and escape it and betting it again. So you can see that we already addressed the issue in line 5. See, it's gone, right? Now the next issue is line 13, right? It's complaining about the fact that int main should probably be int main void, which is right. So I'm gonna go into the restaurant file and go into line 13, which is this one, and then replace that with, I shouldn't leave that empty, I must specify that it's a void. So I'm gonna type in void here, escape and save it, and then run Betty again. We shouldn't have an issue with that anymore, right? On the same line 13, it's saying that open brace following function declaration go on the next line. It shouldn't be on the same line as the parentheses. Just like our Christopher pointed out the fact that I was having parentheses after my function declaration, but in his own, in all of the files that he has been writing, he didn't do that, right? He was thinking about the fact that my code is not going to run, but that wasn't the point, right? The main idea of you following certain standards and rules is because in the industry, you will come with your own standard way of how you write your code. Like you could go to an industry where they don't want you to have the open braces in the next line. They want you to have it in the starting line. So it differs in different companies that you work for. So right here, right now, it's saying that the braces shouldn't be in the same line as the closing parentheses. So I must go into my file and put that in the next line. And now if I should go back and better the file, I shouldn't have that error anymore because I followed it, right? Line 16, 17, 26, 28 is complaining about the fact that we have white trading spaces. So I have to go into that file, right, and remove all of the white trading spaces. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go to the end of each file. I know that there's one here. Okay, there's something there. There's a trading space here. Okay, all right. Okay, okay. So if I should go and better this again, it should tell me that I'm left with line 30 to fix. Hopefully, but let's see. Oh, I still have 26 and 28. So let me go back there and look for lines. Thing is, I can't be counting lines. Oh my goodness. I can't be coming here to count lines. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Okay, in fact, I'm just going to get rid of the entire thing. Okay, alright, so this should get rid of all of those issues that we have. If I bet it again, I should have only line 30s ish. What are you doing? Line 24. Okay. Ugh, I hate this. I hate this Betty error, to be honest. Oh, there you go. This one. What? There, this one. This is the issue here. Okay. Line 26 says that parentheses are required on a return statement. So I must go back to that thing and put a parenthesis here. Right? So I must come here and put parentheses in my stuff. I'm going to intentionally erase the line, the space after return, and do it just like this. I want you to notice that it's going to complain about that as well. So you should take note of that when you are writing your code in C. So it says that space required before the open parentheses, which is what I just said. So I'm just going to come here and put a space required, and then you should be free of Betty issues moving forward in this particular file. Oh, it says no description found for function main. Okay, so let's go back to the file and describe the main function. So now, remember, according to the Betty resources that was given, Um, According to this, I don't know if the resources is here, but if we wanna um describe a function, it has to start with two asterisks when you open the thing, right? So how do you go about this? Well, the name of the function is main, so it has to start with main and a dash, right? And then you can describe it as whatever it is you want to describe. But I need you to take note of something. When you're returning, however, you must have a colon, not a dash. Okay? Uh, you must have a colon and not a dash. So I'm going to actually betty this file. It should tell me that everything is running properly, but I need you to notice something. If I don't put a colon here, if I put a dash here, oh shush, if I put a dash here, it should complain about the fact that I'm not I'm not describing the return statement. So if I should betty this file again, it should complain about the fact that there's no description found for the return value of the main. I hope you guys take note of all of these little details that I'm giving out here. So please follow the Betty standard. Um, the resources was given in ALX. So I hope what we did tonight made a couple of sense. Um, if there are any questions you would love to ask, you should ask them now because I have to end the session. This is a long ass session. Oh my goodness. So if you have any question, please ask. There are definitely gonna be Betty issues with the cashier file that we created as well as the marketer file. I would have loved to tackle all of this, but they're literally the same issues that we had. Okay. Um they're literally the same issues that we had. You just have to go through each and everything and address it. This is a lot actually. But we treated the restaurant dot C's Betty issues. I think moving forward, we should be able to treat every other issues as they come. So if you have any questions, please ask them before we end the session. I think I tried my best tonight. I think tonight was better than yesterday. But yeah, I we treated functions and if statements. We didn't really go into loops. Maybe we can treat loops next time. But yeah, I think we can end the session here. If you have any question, please ask before we end the session. No questions? Can you just at least give me a signification that you guys have been listening to what I've been saying so far and I'm not talking to myself?
Good evening, boss.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening.
All right.
This
Good
I
evening.
don't really understand this thing, but with time.
Oh, you really didn't understand the header file thing?
No, the header file. I noticed when you went to. Okay, I noticed that you went to one resource like that. So I saw the if define, the end if, and the whatever.
Yes.
But the main, but the header file, yeah, it was
Yeah.
in all capital letters. But that wasn't. But the one we created was main.h, all small letters. So I want to know if when creating our library, is it the same main dot like whatever we had as our file in small letters will be the same thing on capital letters? Is it that the
Yes.
format or something?
That's the format. Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes, that's the format. It must always
Like
be in capital letters. I don't think it has to be the name of the file, but just for it to be identified. So let me try making that let me try doing it. So let me say
no, like hold like
vibe.h.
sorry, like we created a main.h file, right?
Yeah.
And that is what we're actually using as our library in the header file. Isn't that
Yes.
like isn't that it? Or is it just so it might be anything we are creating, we are creating, sorry. But it must be in all capital letters in
Yes.
the
So
standard library file.
yeah, so I'm trying to change the name of this to something dot h underscore h to see if
Okay.
this thing is gonna run. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
So I'm gonna scroll all the way to that thing I had a list of. There, this one. So I'm gonna run this. It ran properly. Can you see it ran? So it doesn't necessarily have to be the name of the file. It can be anything, as long as the one you use here is the same as this, and they must always be in caps. All of them must be in caps. So let me say I mistakenly put a small letter here. Sorry. I'm gonna mistakenly put a small letter here. According to the instructions, it must all be in capital letter, right? So let's see if it's gonna complain. They should have their reason why they said we must do that, but let's see. Okay, it's still run, but let's stick to the instructions that was given, right? They must all be all caps for the sake of following instructions, okay? Make sure that everything must be in all caps. Don't change anything. I hope that makes sense. Was that the
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
issue? Was that the only
It
was that the only
does.
question you had with regards to this? Was that the only question you had
There
with
are
regards to this?
others. It was while clearing the errors and all that. I am still okay. Okay, no. Like today, when I was doing my assignment, I don't know if there is like a material where the standard for error on compiling can like we can have it because today I was just trying to get I was getting no description for main file until I had to go back to the Betty standard and saw that it was just me adding a description for my header file. And there are some other syntax error that I'll be having that I cannot interpret.
That's the thing. When you search online and you don't find it, it's good that you go and search online. That is what we appreciate. You can then come to the group and ask, hey, yo, I'm having this error. I'm very sure that a lot of people have gone through the same errors that you had. And we can just tell you what the issue is straight up, knowing fully well that you would have done your own assignment on your own, if that makes sense. So if you're having issues like that, it's totally fine for you to come to the group and say, I'm having this thing. I need a second eye to tell me what I'm doing wrong. And we'll clearly tell you what you're doing, like what you're not doing right and what you're doing right.
Yeah, and I noticed that sorry, yeah, and even while running the checker on the sorry, the compiler on the different files, on the main H, the putcar or whatever. I notice when I do the compiler, it compiles even with the header files and the other files all together.
Come again.
Like when you create those separate files that you want to include, like let me use our tags now, the putcher files, the main H file, and the zero.putcher files. When compiling, it checks the three files for errors, not just the file you are putting in our command for the task. Do you understand?
Yeah, it does. Because all of those files are
Yes.
combined together to form one object file. You see, all of these files that we added here, they are all compiled together to form this object file that we executed over here.
Yeah.
So all of
And it
those things will be
shows. I
checked.
think it
If you check,
okay, it shows the files where the error are.
yes, it tells you where the errors are. It literally tells you where the errors are for
Okay.
each of the files that you're trying to combine to form an object file. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So if you're having errors that have to do with syntax and you're unable to solve it immediately, you can just ask on the group to save time. I mean, it's the effort that counts,
Okay.
right? So you've been working on it. It's not as if you woke up in the morning, you went straight to the task, and then got a sudden error. You didn't do any search whatsoever, and you just came to the group and asked. That is the one that is not
Yeah.
acceptable. You understand? But now you did the homework.
Yeah.
Everything works based on what you think, and you think you didn't. You feel like you're having an errors, and you're having some errors, and you're unable to identify it. If you come on the group and post it, then we can appreciate the fact that you did all what you needed to do and you've tried all of your thing. And it happens, like literally, it does happen. If this whole programming thing was a single man effort, We wouldn't have a team of engineers trying to figure things out. Even with group of people working together, they still find errors that they are not able to solve like in one sitting. They have to like think about it properly. So these things happen.
Yeah, and what again? Okay, some errors that Betty don't see, the compiler sees them.
Betty
And
the
yeah,
the only thing Betty is meant to do is to check for standards, to check for styles, the way you write your code and stuff. It doesn't check if your code runs or not. No, no, no. It doesn't do that. It checks for
okay,
syntax. It checks for the styles of how you wrote. It doesn't. I don't think it checks for syntax error or logical errors or stuff like that. No, Betty is just checking
I
if
don't
you're
think
following the
so.
coding standard. The compiler, however, is responsible for checking for syntax error. You are responsible for checking the logical errors. So let's say, for instance, you are meant to output A somewhere, and your output said 97. You know, that is a logical error.
The
You need
compiler
to
will
figure
see
that
it.
out.
The compiler will see it, right?
The compiler cannot see a logical error. A compiler can only see a syntax error. All these things will make sense as time goes on. Don't rush it. Try to read all of the resources given. I promise that if you're looking at the resources, you shouldn't struggle. Like I promise you. Just take your time and read the resources. And remember, you have a group of people you can ask questions from. And that's one of the things
Yeah.
that people don't make use of, right? They literally just don't use the you use the group. We need you to come and tell us that this is the error. We want to let you know that we actually had this error. We want to let you know that we had this error, this same error. We worked. We want to tell you that we saw this thing, and just for a flex, not a flex, but you understand what I'm trying to say.
I understand.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. So I'm glad that you
I
at
think
least
as we go
understand the
on,
whole function situation. So I can still try again with this main.h file. Maybe again. I don't know when next we're gonna have a meeting, but I hope that I was able to shed some light with regards to functions and some other things.
well, we have to practice, like I said. I'm gonna go back and practice to get them stuck in there. Try.
Alright, sweet thing. Yeah, it was nice having you guys here. If there are no other questions, we can end the session for today. I'm gonna try my best to upload
Okay,
this on YouTube and
okay.
listen to it
Well,
for you guys.
just before you go, I noticed all the loops we used today was, I think it's for loop, for loop, for loop, right?
Um, Today, I don't know. I didn't really do anything today. I think I did all of my work yesterday.
Even no, I mean the this session. You use print F, then was it for loops that you used there, or you didn't use a loop at all? Because I wasn't
No, no, no. We didn't do
trying to
any loop
understand.
at
I
all.
think you,
We just did functions. All we did today
oh,
was
you
just
just did
functions.
function.
Yeah, we just did functions. We didn't really do loops. We didn't do any loop today.
Okay,
We're going to address loops, I
okay.
think,
So
the
we,
next time we meet.
yeah, so if you open a file now, I noticed after writing the header, the whatever, the description, the standard, the return value, while in the body, in the body of the command, we always, should I say, we define the we should I say defined, or we give value to the character. Like example, you say let's a semicolon a should be 5. Then you start I don't know, putting in the other code on the other line. So if we don't give a or that integer, that variable, a number or a value, will the code still execute?
I mean, it will execute, but it will give you a garbage value. So, for instance, I'm gonna try that now, right? So, for restaurant, right? Restaurant.c. Okay, so let me vie into restaurant. Oh man, that's not what I want.
Oh,
Let's vie into restaurant. I was opening the object file. So over here, let me try and create a value. Let me declare a variable and not initialize it. So let's say int a, right? And then I say print f. That's the question you're asking, right?
Yeah.
Because it's an integer, I'm gonna use that. Sometimes it gives you an output, sometimes it gives you a garbage value. It depends on how the computer is feeling. It gives you a garbage value like a and a memory error. So if I try compiling this again and running the restaurant, oh, it says it's uninitialized, so it's gonna give you an error. But I don't think C++ plus plus
Yeah.
gives you that error. Okay, sorry, I'm slightly
Okay.
using another programming language, but this is gonna complain about the fact that you didn't initialize it. So you must
Yeah.
always
Okay.
initialize a variable that you declare before making use of it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
You are very much welcome. And yeah, Luna, I saw your message. It's I appreciate you guys coming, and I'm glad that whatever it is we treated today was helpful to you guys. So yeah, looking forward to the next one, and I hope that is also going to be useful. Um, I guess we can say good night now.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I'll see you guys when I see you. Okay,
All right, sure. Thanks, bro.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Have a good night, guys.
You too.
Oh, I didn't stop this thing from recording.